Hello, books. Fun with fluids. Let's read something about fluids. No, what? Fluids. Inventory. I for inventory. Where's the book? Fun with fluids. Read. Fun with fluids. Druidenay's qualities are many and well documented. For an adventurer, it isn't wise to consume in the thick of battle, though recreational use is widely accepted among liberal circles. Oh, Druidenay is a plant, I guess then, or a potion. Knowledge significantly less widely spread, however, is that Druidenay is best consumed from within a flask, as the bottling process often brings out its finest features. Okay. Interesting. Let me just put it back where I got it. Over here-ish. Oh well, put it here. Thank you. Oh, a pirate's life. Can I just... No. Treasure! Read. Much like making love, comedy requires equal parts passion and delivery. A fever for the stage is not enough. Oh no, no. The truly successful comedian will study the details of the craft through countless long, lonely nights in preparation for his rendezvous with the audience. Compiled with this volume are some of Viren's finest funnies, enough to make a granite statue grin. Oh yeah, jokes! Jokes. Okay. Okay. This is going to be terrible. During a dwarven funeral, the bearers of the casket accidentally bump into a wall and hear a faint moan. They open the casket and find out that the dwarven woman inside is actually alive. The entire funeral party rejoices, and a joyful tear springs into her husband's eye. The dwarven lady lives for 10 more years and then dies. There's another funeral for her. At the end of the service, the bearers carry out the casket. As they are walking out, the husband cries out, "Watch out for the wall!" I get it. Because he wants her to stay dead this time. That's funny, apparently. Anyway. Next one. An elf and an orc show up in the Hall of Echoes at the same time. The orc says he froze to death, and the elf says he died of a heart attack. How did that happen, asks the orc. The elf replied, "Well, I came home, and though I thought I heard my wife in bed with someone else, but when I searched the house, I couldn't find anybody. I was so stricken with remorse for wrongly accusing my wife of infidelity, I had a heart attack and died on the spot." "Geez," says the orc, "if you'd opened the icebox, we'd both be alive right now." Aha, adultery. Last one. I hope at least one of these will make you at least chuckle. Every 10 years, the Elvenwood priests in the High Monastery are allowed to break their vow of silence, to speak 2 words. 10 years go by, and it's one priest's first chance. He thinks for a second before saying, "Food bad." 10 years later, he says, "Bad heart." It's the big day, a decade later. He gives the head priest a long stare and says, "I quit." "I'm not surprised," the elven high priest says. "You've been complaining ever since you got here." That's my favorite. I like this one. That's a nice one. I like this joke. Good joke. Anyway. Sure, there's space enough. Put it down. Pick up this one. And read it. A Pirate's Life. What? Crack it open, inhale the Muscovite pages, and learn something new. Oh, it says something on every book. How much pages? Okay, only 2. The book's tight binding belies its age. Let's try this again. The book's tight binding belies its age. Bits of crumbling pages stick to your fingers as you turn each page. A Pirate's Life. Shipmate Fulkerson's diary. Whoever came up with the idea to go hunting for treasure in Sicile should be keelhauled. I cared not for diaries before we ended up in this accursed place. As I fear the end is nigh, I feel obliged to warn my fellow pirates. Avoid Sicile. As sunny as its beaches are, as golden as the sun shines its cobblestone roads, equally corrupt is this hellhole. There are laws for everything in Sicile, and every law contradicts the other. The beginning, we tried to work alongside the system for some time, better to ease down the local suspicions, you see? But I fear every trader that sets foot in Sicile must become a pirate or an outlaw, whether they realize it or not. There are taxes on docking a ship. There are taxes on owning a ship. There are taxes on docking without a ship. There are taxes on boarding and unboarding the ship. But one cannot onboard without having boarded in Sicile first. Oi! What's it even mean? There are taxes on entering the tavern if you're not a Sicilian. And there's a law against entering the tavern if you ain't a Sicilian. What? Okay. Unaware, you enter, pay the tax, and then get thrown in jail when the locals realize your anchor's set elsewhere. But that's not the worst part. We came here looking for treasure. There's a skull-shaped cave on the beach, and the captain is certain there's a pirate's bounty within. We have sent out a dozen of our best men a fortnight ago, but they've yet to return. The rumor amongst our men is that the cave is haunted. Hogwash! The rest of us will investigate tomorrow. If our crew has not returned, then it's goodbye, Sicile! I'm kinda guessing that this is bad for you guys.
The Demonium. I know it by heart.
The knight in see-through armor. Princess Buttercup with the blushing bottom. Stentiken. Esmeralda does have a propensity for all things naughty, hasn't she?
Alright.
Technology for dumbbells.
Let's see,
Need
what's
something
this?
more advanced.
A man-at-arms
Pseudo-monarchy
thing. Battering ram. That's for
First edition too.
Santa Medora.
Promising.
Medora,
Mayhem.
you do this, I believe. Oh, I already know it. Well then, let's put it back on the ground. Somewhere.
No.
Nothing in
This
here.
isn't the grimoire I'm looking for. The Pseudo-monarchia Daemonum.
The knight
The
in
first
see-through
edition
armor.
too. Most
Princess
promising.
Buttercup
Alright.
with the blushing bottom. Stentiken.
You have twice the same
Esmeralda
book, I
does
must
have a
say.
propensity for all things naughty, hasn't she?
Let's see, is there more books over here? Philosophy of Death. Inventory. Handbound and gilt-edged, whoever attended to this book's creation clearly believed quite wholly in its importance. Ah, interesting. Let's read it then. Okay, still more. 2 pages. Let us briefly discuss life and death, the great opposites, the great equals. Death is greater than life, so saith the priest, for in death comes the gods' just reward. But if this be true, whether that reward shall be the solace of heaven or the agony of hell, is decided during one's lifetime, and therefore life is much greater than death. For it is the decision maker. And what of those who care not for the gods, who question the afterlife, the existence of deities? Life is life's own goal, they say, a wise sentiment I echo, and that even priests would do well to heed. But oh, how often does doubt assault these revelers of life? How often does fear approach with the creeping of the shadows? So great becomes the looming horror that death becomes larger than life, and death becomes the greatest force. And death becomes the greater force. Forget the promise of gods, I say, but defy the fear of oblivion as well, for only if life and death become each other's equals can the philosophy of death become one of life. Death is the instigator of faith and fear, but only if you let it be so. If you can gaze into its obsidian eyes, knowing it if you can gaze into its obsidian eyes, knowing it is the be-all and the end-all, but fear neither, then you shall have reached the shores of wisdom. So saith Nemris. Maybe you should remember that name. I feel like he's going to be back. What's more into here? Nothing. It's rather...
Celeron will have to pay yet another fine.
No books here. There's one here. The Adventurer's Field Guide, Volume 5. That's an interesting one, probably. A lumberjack's manual detailing the too many ways you can reduce a tree to varying pieces of wood. Let's read it. Now, I'm not a lumberjack, but I can get a good strong stick out of any log with my trusty axe whenever I'm in need of one. Some weird geezers have been asking for the wood chips on the floor after I've chopped up some logs, and I just let them. I have no idea what to do with those. Interesting. Can I not put it back up there? Oh, let's just put it down here then. Well, why would you try to find a new book in a library? He Who Smelts It, Volume 1. That's an interesting one, probably. Read. He Who Smelts It. The quality of a proper sword has quite declined in recent decades. Some blame a changing climate, others a change in the type and origin of iron reserves. I myself craft my own supplies from an iron bar and an anvil to ensure the maximum character of the weapon.
No,
Celeron will
this
have to
isn't
pay
the
yet
green
Good.
another
I'm
fine.
looking for.
I can create a superior sword
The
now.
Encyclopedia Demonium.
The History of Saisio. I don't remember if I've read this one.
Kaj'Dinor.
Read.
A brief history of sorcery still hasn't been
A
returned.
Brief History of
Celeron will have to
Saisio
pay yet
by
another
D.R.
fine.
Galanti. Oh my. Okay,
Demonology.
let's go. Though Saisil's borders have shrunk considerably in modern times, ours was once an expansive kingdom of economic and strategic importance in the region of Andavale. Unembroiled on external politics, Saisio was free to expand from sea to sea in the borders of Lucura Forest. Lucura? I don't know. Where legendary and mysterious magicians are said to reside. Why then did Saisio fall? First, trade. As the old kingdoms grew, Saisil's ports became less central to trading routes, but most importantly, Saisil's history of a small and homogeneous population meant that its cultural importance faded as more diverse nations grew. Capitals that featured elvish musicians and dwarvish mead thrived, while Saisil's trade stagnated. Still, Saisio is a seat of significant cultural importance. Home of the last Source King, the catacombs of Saisio are famed for their beauty and their supposed preternatural activity.
The Encyclopedia Demonium.
In recent times, the leaders of Saisio are seeking to reinvigorate the economy. Fertile farmlands are being utilized at full capacity by the incentivized sale of lands to experienced farmers. Saisil's future shines bright indeed. Well, enough reading. Let's get the hell out of here.
First edition too.
Okay. Let's do something. Let's go and find Aureus now. Don't know exactly where he would be. Let's just wander around. I know that in the beginning of this game there's not a lot of fighting, but I promise you there's going to be plenty of action. Hello?
Saisio! Now that's a sad story. Elegant homes burned for fuel, oaken cupboards emptied, and ladies dragging the dregs of their great skirts to bargain for fish bones.
Yeah. Hey, you have some money. Can I sell you this one? For $11? I don't know, vials and bottles and stuff as well. Skull, some hair, the corpse compendium. $18, that's pretty good. Yeah, thanks. Bye. Oh wait, who's this? Selenia. Who the hell are you? Hello.
Source Hunter. A sight for sore eyes, if ever there was one.
Indeed.
I know you're probably knee-deep in that awful murder investigation, but truth be told, the Legion could use your help as well.
Oh, good.
We've been conducting a series of expeditions into undead territory, and I'm afraid I must admit they've met with very little success.
And who are you then, Selenia?
Lieutenant Selenia, at your service. I'm Captain Aureus' second in command, but rest assured I am a lot more kindly inclined towards source hunters than he is. Now, I certainly don't mind a bit of healthy competition and even rivalry between our orders, but I, for one, have no intention of looking a gift horse in the mouth. And that is exactly what your presence in Sicil is, Source Hunter. A gift and a blessing. Only heroes such as yourself can make a true difference in this troubled part of the world. Such is my honest conviction.
So, tell me, what about those undead?
The undead. I pitied them at first. Many among them were once kind and innocent civilians of Sicil after all. No longer do I feel that way, though. Too many of my soldiers have fallen. The dead must be put down without mercy, if we can. The bravest among my men and women tell me they are weaker in the west and stronger in the east. So I suggest you head westward if you want to flex your muscles and test the waters before blindly diving to your death.
Okay, thanks. So west. I'd like to talk about matters concerning a
I
legion.
shall be very glad to share what information I can give you.
Sailors.
It's very sweet of you that you are trying to get these men a job, but I'm afraid they're not Legion material. Sure, they can tie a knot and blow a whistle like the best of them, but even with a sword in their hands, they wouldn't stand a chance against the undead, and I don't want any more blood on my hands.
So, about those expeditions.
If ever we want to be victorious in Sicil, we have to track down the root of the undead uprising. Under the Pact of Volunteers, 3 expeditions were launched to do just that, but so far, none of their participants have returned. 3 landmarks were chosen for further investigation. The lighthouse, the burial mounds, and the old church. Places fraught with danger all.
Tell me about the lighthouse.
There's a lighthouse to the west, up on the bluffs, overlooking the sea. No man has gone there in a decade, and yet a light shines from its pinnacle every night. The locals say it's haunted, and half a dozen legionnaires have gone to find out whether or not those are mere tall tales. I fear for their safety.
Probably ghosts.
There are ancient burial grounds to be found north of the city. As good a place as any to start looking for necromancers, wouldn't you say?
Pretty much.
A local archaeologist offered to tag along with the men. Here's hoping his knowledge on the subject may prove to be of use to them.
Or they're just new undead now.
There's a church to the northeast of here, built atop the very place where once stood a temple dedicated to the source. The Sicilians razed it, and built a church for the 7 instead, supposedly to symbolize the victory of the gods over evil sorcery.
Interesting.
All superstitious mumbo-jumbo, if you ask me. But when the dead rose, that is when they were first spotted. Hence the expedition.
So what about that, what was it? A volunteer pact or something?
So I did.
Yeah.
Pact of Volunteers. Many legionnaires will do whatever it takes to go home, which is why I personally sign their transfer orders the moment they make it back from a mission behind enemy lines.
Interesting.
The chances of survival during these sorties are only about 1 in 10, you see. So my soldiers are free to volunteer, and if they are successful, they just bought themselves a boat ride home.
Oh, nice. You're very nice with them. Thanks, then. Let's leave and go talk to Aureus guy. I think he's in here.